The first time the house breathed, Daniel told himself it was the pipes. Old houses did that. They sighed, they settled, they swallowed drafts and exhaled cold air through hairline cracks. That's what his realtor had said about the Victorian on Ashwood Lane. He hadn't asked why it had been on the market for 9 years. The breathing started at 3:17 a.m. every night. A slow inhale that seemed to pass through the walls themselves, wood creaking outward as if lungs were filling inside them. Then a pause. Then an exhale. Long, shuddering. The first few nights, Daniel stayed in bed, staring at the ceiling. By the 4th, he sat up. By the 7th, he began timing it. Inhale. 4 seconds. Hold. 2 seconds. Exhale. Intentional. Alive. On the 10th night, he followed it. He crept from his bedroom, bare feet against cold hardwood, and stood in the upstairs hallway. The breathing was louder there, closer. The door at the end of the hall was slightly ajar. He was certain he'd closed it. It was the smallest room in the house, barely large enough for a twin bed. He used it for storage. The air inside always felt thick. The inhale came again, and the door opened wider. Not pushed, drawn inward, as though something inside the room had taken a breath. Daniel's throat went dry. Hello? The house exhaled, and the light flicked on. He hadn't touched the switch. The room was empty. Just stacked boxes and an old standing mirror the previous owner had left behind. It was tall and oval-shaped, rimmed with tarnished silver filigree. Daniel stepped inside. The breathing stopped. The silence was worse. He stood before the mirror, heart hammering, and looked at his reflection. It looked back, too intently. He lifted a hand. His reflection hesitated, only for a fraction of a second, but it hesitated. Daniel froze. His reflection slowly raised its hand to match. A cold sensation slid down his spine. "That's not possible," he whispered. The reflection smiled. Daniel wasn't smiling. The light snapped off. Darkness swallowed the room, and the breathing returned, but now it was fast. Excited. Behind him, he spun around. Nothing. But when he turned back to the mirror, his reflection was gone. The glass showed the room, but not him. The mirror was empty. The breathing came from inside the glass. Fog began to bloom across its surface, spreading from the center outward, as though something inside was exhaling against it. Then words appeared in the condensation. "Let me out." Daniel stumbled backward and hit the stacked boxes. They toppled, thudding against the floor. The mirror cracked. A thin fracture split across its surface like a jagged grin, and through that crack, an eye opened. Not his eye, larger, blacker, wet. It blinked. The house inhaled sharply, and the walls bowed inward. Daniel ran. He didn't look back. He bolted down the stairs, grabbed his keys, and threw the front door open, and found himself standing in the upstairs hallway, in front of the small room. The door was closed again. The breathing was slow, patient. He turned around. The staircase was gone. The hallway stretched longer than before, fading into darkness behind him. The house exhaled. "You can't leave," a voice whispered. It was his voice, from inside the room. The doorknob began to turn. Daniel lunged forward and wrenched the door open before whatever was inside could. The room was different now. No boxes, no mirror, just a twin bed, and someone sitting on it. Him. The other Daniel looked pale, hollow-eyed, terrified. "Don't let it," the other Daniel started. The lights went out again. When they flicked back on, the bed was empty. Daniel staggered backward and collided with glass. The mirror stood behind him now, impossibly close. His reflection was back. But it wasn't mimicking him. It was moving on its own, smiling wider. "You took my house," the reflection said softly, though its lips didn't move. "I've been waiting for someone to trade." Trade? Daniel's chest tightened. Trade what? The reflection pressed its hands against the inside of the glass. From Daniel's side, the surface bulged outward like stretched plastic. Places. The house inhaled. The floor dropped from beneath him. Daniel slammed into something hard and cold. Glass. From the other side. He scrambled to his feet. He was inside the mirror. The small room was beyond the glass now, and standing there, in the dim light, was the other Daniel. The smiling one. Free. It stretched his arms, testing fingers, testing joints. "Thank you," it mouthed silently. Daniel pounded against the inside of the mirror. Distant. The free Daniel turned and walked out of the room. The door shut. The breathing stopped. Silence. Daniel spun around. Behind him wasn't a reflection of the small room. It was a hallway, endless, lined with mirrors. In each one, a different person pounded against the glass, crying, screaming, begging. Some were old-fashioned, Victorian clothing, powdered wigs, uniforms from wars long past. Some were modern, all trapped, all watching him. The breathing began again. But now he understood. It wasn't the house breathing. It was the mirrors. Inhale. Somewhere a new door opening. Exhale. Someone stepping inside. Daniel slowly turned back to the glass. Through it, he could see the house faintly. See himself. No, the other him. Walking down the stairs, picking up his phone. Dialing a number. Realtor. Putting the house back on the market. The reflection smiled at the camera for the listing photo. It looked perfect, friendly, normal. Behind the glass, Daniel began to understand the rhythm. 4 seconds in. 2 seconds hold. 6 seconds out. He felt his chest moving with it now. Not by choice. The mirror inhaled, and Daniel felt his body thinning, stretching, flattening, becoming part of the surface. His hands fused into glass. His mouth opened in a silent scream. The last thing he saw before he could no longer move was a new family stepping through the front door downstairs. A little girl wandered away from her parents. Up the stairs, down the hallway, toward the small room at the end. She pushed the door open, and there, against the wall, stood a tall oval mirror with tarnished silver trim, smiling. Just slightly. And when she stepped closer, he raised his hand. This time, she didn't hesitate to raise hers back. The house inhaled.